Top 10 Worst NBA Stories of All Time. Number 10. Michael Jordan. Many NBA players actually have modest backgrounds and are thrust into a world of fame and riches unexpectedly. No wonder players sometimes tend to waste the money on whatever they please. In Michael Jordan's case, it was gambling. It's not good for business to see your superstar player deal with severe personal issues such as a gambling problem, extramarital affairs, and an attempted extortion. It appears the NBA was dealing with yet another report about Michael's issues on every week. Thankfully though, he seems to have gotten a grip on most of these things in more recent years. Number 9. Latrell Sprewell. Professional athletes tend to be very emotional about games, but what you must never do during practice is threaten your coach. In 1997, Latrell Sprewell strangled Warriors coach PJ Carlesimo after he was told that he was not playing as well as usual. The two got into a screaming match which ended in Sprewell choking his now former coach while trying to kill him. In the 90s, trying to combat the widespread stereotype of violent basketball players, the NBA came down tough with a 1-year suspension and canceling his $23.7 million contract. Number 8. Late night calls. After one too many drinks, you give in and you do something stupid, like maybe calling your ex. All of us have experienced similar things. This can happen to anyone, but most of us are not NBA team CEO. Bob Vanderwide, CEO of Orlando, was forced to resign after, when he was drunk, he called Dwight Howard, who left the team. Telling your ex that you love her and want her to stay with you is not okay, and neither is telling that to your star player. The move has been widely reported, and although Vanderwide insists that he was not intoxicated, it's quite hard to believe that. Number 7. Corporate veto. The New Orleans Hornets and Los Angeles Lakers had signed an agreement after the 2011 season. Chris Paul, the Hornets point guard, was supposed to be sent to LA, but the NBA, which at the time owned the team, vetoed the deal. The brazen interference raised a lot of eyebrows in the community, despite NBA Commissioner David Stern having been within his rights as owner. What commercial interests did Stern want to cover by keeping Paul on the Hornets? We may never know, but in the minds of many fans it ruined the reputation of the league. Number 6. Knicks and Nuggets. A massive fight tends to be the only possible outcome when you mix high-stake games with highly competitive players. The incident began when Marty Collins of the Knicks flagrantly fouled J.R. Smith of the Nuggets by flapping his arms around Smith and smacking his back. The altercation appeared to end there because the teammates intervened immediately after the two went chest to chest. That's before Collins was confronted by Carmelo Anthony, who punched him so hard that he fell to the ground and then ran away. This started a huge fight that even made the coaches jump in to try to land a couple of blows. The NBA harshly disciplined 7 of the players, attempting to escape the stigma of abuse in sports, banning them for a combined total of 47 games. Number 5. Basket brawl. Chaos erupted at the Palace of Auburn Hills in 2004. With less than a minute on the clock, in the fight between the Pistons and the Pacers, a fight broke out between opposing players before disintegrating quickly. If it had ended there though, that night would have been relatively unremarkable. It didn't. At the Pacers forward, a fan threw a cup filled with Diet Coke, who jumped into the crowd in revenge, sparking a huge fan-player brawl. The event was an NBA PR disaster when television sports showed NBA players storming into the stands and attacking fans. 9 players were suspended after the dust had settled, and there were criminal charges against 5 players and 5 spectators. The NBA, in response, increased protection between the court and the stands to avoid anything like that happening again. Number 4. Isaiah Thomas. In 2007, his former boss, Knicks executive Anchua Brown Sanders, sued former Knicks coach Isaiah Thomas for alleged sexual assault. The Knicks had already lost their reputation in the NBA as a reputable organization after Thomas delivered poor decision after poor decision, and the lawsuit for discrimination was just the cherry on top. This case hurt not only the Knicks' credibility, but the NBA as a whole as well. No one wants to be working for a company where your boss will threaten you, and while Thomas is revered for his abilities on the court, his reputation has been irreparably compromised. Number 3. Stephon Marbury. The harassment suit of Isaiah Thomas left no stone unturned, which spelled Marbury and the NBA into a disaster. An intern for the Knicks at the height of the media storm admitted in court that she had a romantic relationship with former Knicks player Stephon Marbury. The entire Knicks organization apparently was a breeding ground for sexual harassment. This stigma has been difficult to remove and is still a part of the NBA and its players to this day. Number 2. Duel between 2 wizards. No, not as in Harry Potter, we're talking about the Washington Wizards, and they were not using wands, they were using weapons. 2 teams, Gilbert Arenas and Javaris Crittenton, had a dispute on Christmas Eve 2010. They reportedly clashed over unpaid gambling debts, and the dispute intensified until they had a classic Mexican standoff. The NBA clamped down hard on the gunslinging pair, which effectively ended both players' careers. Number 1. Bull Knicks Brawl. The battle was similar to most other NBA brawls. A playoff game gets tense as the emotions of the team run high. One guy follows another, and you know the rest. Nevertheless, the fight was noteworthy for audience participation. The players meleeed right down onto the laps of former NBA Commissioner David Stern to the audience stands, which was unfortunate for everyone involved. Most people would lose their jobs for good reason if the company's CEO saw them duking it out on the job. Luckily, Stern was merciful, so there were only 1 or 2 day suspensions for the players involved. There you have our list of the top 10 worst NBA stories of all time. Which one was your favorite NBA story? Do you know any others? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to drop us a like and hit that subscriber bell if you want to stay up to date on all our future videos.